So intellectually speaking, there are no transgenders. No one, because that word suggests that you transition from one gender to the other. Well, it can't happen. It cannot happen biologically. It cannot happen scientifically. It cannot happen medically. So it doesn't happen. So it's a farce. It's fantasy. It's nonsense. Two words that are really misused are transition and transgender. There is no transition and there are no transgenders. There's only two species, male, female. That's it. You can't invent things. You can suggest that people can identify. You know, identifying as a female does not make you one.
Correct, yeah.
You know, I mean, I could identify as Trump today, right? That doesn't make me Trump, right? I mean, but this, you laugh, but that's, we should be laughing every time somebody says, I'm a male and I'm a female. But we don't. It's like, what's the matter with that person? And so what we know is that this is gaining ground primarily because it's a political power tool. And because they can fundraise money with it, you have these groups divided. You know, you've got the left who, in our country, who just raises all kinds of money for this, and they want to sort of nurture this group, kind of like Grandma did me. You know, they want to affirm them, encourage them.
You know, I like how this dude put it in the most simplest of contexts when it comes to that ideology, that construct, that vicious, sinful construct known as transgenderism, LGBTQ, so on and so forth. But transgenderism is even more bizarre when it comes to that choice. You know, it's one of those things where you just analogize it to something simple as saying, well, if I want to feel like I'm a chandelier today, then I'm a chandelier. If I want to feel like I'm a dog today, then I'm a dog. It's the same sentiment as these people who say, well, today, you know what? I just feel like being a girl if I'm a boy. You cannot naturally change from a girl to a boy. And that's something that I didn't have to see that beginning video to know that. But I feel like certain people, especially of our community, they have to see a white face, you know, rationalize things for them. At the end of the day, bro, this is something that we already should know. These people have a demon on them. It's no disrespect. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm just pointing out the obvious when it comes to the sickness of this world and these agendas. That's why I named this trans agenda, because that's what it is. It's like when those people convince themselves that, you know, if they're naturally born a girl or a boy, that they should be the opposite, then yes, it's something wrong with them. There's nothing that's positive that comes out of you thinking that. It's the same sentiment as me thinking that I can be a dog if I want to be a dog. Because there's no way for me to change from one sex to another. It's like, it's not possible in no way, shape, or form. It's the same thing with what I just said about wanting to be a dog or some shit. That's how wacky this is. That's how nonsensical it is. But people don't tell them these things. They encourage it. Just like the guy said, that's exactly what it is. Because it's all for monetary gain. It's all for benefits. When it comes to pushing, you know, when it comes to pushing confusion, because that's what it is. It's confusion. It's not any sort of, you know, sensibility with this. It's confusion. You have a demon on you. Dαιμονίζομαι. Insane thought. You feel like you're a man and you're a girl, you're born a girl, then that's insane thought. You have a demon on you. If you have this attraction to another man as a man, you have a demon on you. It just is what it is. And the reason why I make these videos is to help people understand those type of aspects to it. Because a lot of our people are not spiritual enough to grasp why these things are wrong. And even if they wasn't spiritual, you should still understand why this shit is wrong. So it says here, just to add context to it, because I'm not even going to go into the article, just want to read this headline here. And, you know, I've read so many books about certain, you know, homosexuals who they were homosexual and then they you know, converted back or went back to, you know, their regular life, their regular mindset, you know, being in a right mind of being attracted to another woman, which is right, which is, you know, stability, which is normalcy, which is nature. anything that goes against nature is wrong. You know, essentially anything that they utilize as a construct as opposed to what's natural is wrong. I mean, obviously, you can't produce. You can't. It's nothing that comes from that's fruitful. Like literally, it's nothing fruitful that comes from that. It says ex-Navy SEAL who transitioned. Remember that keyword transitioned from male to female. Says he's now transitioning back. So you can't call this some sort of like genetic thing. It's not genetic. And it's the same sentiment with the homosexuals. It's not genetic, because you can have people who believe that they're gay because of some sort of like, you know, outside absorbance from other, you know, sinful things in regards to just the vibration of it, to coming into your right mind through to a blessing from the Heavenly Father or some sort. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's about. It's the psychological aspect to it. It has nothing to do with genetics. There's no gay baby. Like, there's no gay gene. It doesn't make any real sense. These are all construct based. It's a concept. Just like on the song Auntie Diaries on Kendrick Lamar's album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, he says, this is how we conceptualize human beings. This is how you turn a human being into a fucking concept. Cause that's what it is. This is how we conceptualize human beings. We just created something. That's why they pushing this heavy when it comes to Brittany Griner being locked up in Russia and all this shit. When you got a lot of people locked up for the same shit that she's locked up for in the United States, but they pushing her hard because she represents that. She represents that Baphometic energy, and that's why they push it, really, because of the Baphomet. That's why they push transgenderism. You know, it goes into that aspect of it three-dimensionally when it comes to the worship or the veneration system or esotericism. It all goes back to the worship of the Baphomet. That's why they push transgenderism, really, because they worship the pagan gods. The pagan gods, you know, going back to the, you know, ancients of old when it comes to Kemet and whatnot. The Baphomet goes back to Kemet. It's just a rendition of Pan or, you know, Khnum or what have you, the goat god. The androgynous deity, also going back to Hermaphrodite, or Hermaphroditus, Aphrodite and Hermes coming together. That's all that shit represents. So it's more of an esoteric front, but you know they push these constructs hard because this is the world, this is the land of confusion. He says blast VA for giving him hormones after an hour-long consultation and called sex change the worst mistake of my life. Yeah, it should be the worst mistake of your life as a man. To feel like you should be a female and then you realize, okay, this is wrong. So he had some sense knocked into his ass. Because a lot of these people, they under a spell. They don't even understand it. They walking fucking zombies. Even the ones that's not electing, you know, this life choice of thinking that they should be a man if they're a girl or what have you, vice versa. You have a lot of people that's just sucking up or drinking of the cup of the devil when it comes to this world. Not even understanding that they walking fucking zombies. That's why on the song Kendrick Lamar, he says, worldwide steppers. I'm a killer, he's a killer, we some killers, bitch. We some killers walking zombies trying to scratch that itch. Scratch that itch. Also going into, I know I'm going back to the Mr. Morale thing, but, you know, it's just a lot of connections. Scratch that itch pursuant to what Kendrick Lamar says on the song, or what Mr. Eckhart Tolle says before the song, the Baby Keem interlude, where he's like, you know, when you're young and you go through so much trauma, in some ways you feed off that trauma by, you know, wanting more unhappiness. Like you feed on more unhappiness based off of you being subjected to it so much. So it kind of reminds me of that, like trying to scratch that itch. You know, you feeding off more of that unhappiness by trying to satiate yourself with something that you know is not necessarily good for you. And that's worldwide steppers. That's this world. That's this world. They push all this shit on us knowing that it's not good for us. That's why it's important for us to stick with the Heavenly Father and just stay on the right side. Stay on the right side of prophecy. That's my lingo there. That's my theme. The right side of prophecy. But yeah, man, I just wanted to, you know, look at this just for proper context when it comes to what we saw in the beginning of the video. Just like he said, man, it's no different than, or like I said, really, there's no different than someone calling themselves a fucking chandelier, or, hey, I want to be a sink, so I'm a sink. Or I want to be a refrigerator, I'm a refrigerator. It's no different than that, than the transgender agenda, where somebody feels like they should be this just because they feel like it. Like that's not a proper world to live in. You can't just convince yourself that you're this because you feel like that. That's just silly. So we got to understand the world we live in. I'm sure we already know, but it's just one of those things that, the more they perpetuate it, the more they pretty much undermine the intelligence of certain people when it comes to them being able to point out the bullshit of this world. Because the majority of people, they're not going to be able to point it out because it's all about trying to reach the youth, trying to reach, this new millennium with the nonsensical ideologies and whatnot. They care more about that than, the old astute brothers, or the brothers that's not even old, but more so aware of what the fuck is going on. They want to target the docile ones, But just want to say thank y'all and God bless you all. I have more coming when it comes to this subject because, the demonic element is stark. We already understand that there's nothing that's positive that comes out of this. It's all wrong. It's all left. It's all demonic.